Live and local, this is Good Morning PD on Live 95.
Welcome back to Good Morning PD Live 95. Takes Mondays to make Fridays. We will not be on the air live and in living color next week. We actually will have, you call it the best of. I call it the best we could do. I don't know that we have the best of, but we have the best that we could do. One thing we've always been sensitive of on this show is service to country. We have Republicans and Democrats. We have conservatives and liberals, and we have all these political debates. We'll talk a lot about it in the 8 o'clock hour with our good friends Rod Jernigan and Dr. Neil Thigpen. But I've always said in my political life that the one thing we should be in lockstep in support of is our men and women who serve in the armed forces. We were talking about the founding fathers a second ago. A lot of these were brilliant thinkers, but many of these people were soldiers. I mean, they fought in the Revolutionary War, and I've always said and I'll remain steadfast to this belief. Nobody's influenced the way the world looks more than the American soldier. And we're proud and honored to have an American soldier with us today. Edward Graham Sr. is with us. Mr. Graham, thank you for being with us, and congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
You said you've hardly ever won anything. I can relate to that. Well, you are our Honor Event recipient. We've got some cool prizes, cool sponsors. But I wonder if you don't mind, talk a little bit about you, what motivated you to become a member of the armed forces, and what are your memories of that experience?
Well, first and foremost, I was flunking out of school. That's the one thing. I was in college over at Midland Technical College in Columbia, and didn't have a good experience with that. So I decided, well, I better join the military, And so I went in at a young age of 19 years old, and I understood that, I may be fighting for my country. That didn't sit well with me. So I came out after 3 years and went back in 2 years later and decided, hey, it's not a bad thing to be fighting for my country and, getting paid for it. And so I stayed 17 more years and I retired in 2002.
Wow. Interesting.
My experiences were great. I mean, just to be able to travel the country and, do some of the things that I would not be able to afford hadn't I joined the military. And then when I got married in 1984, and my wonderful wife, Margaret, and I and our children, we were able to see some things that I know I probably otherwise wouldn't be able to afford.
You've in some of the notes here I have, you're a volunteer, as a mentor.
Yes.
Explain why you think that's important. You talk about struggling academically. I went off to Wofford. I probably didn't stay at Wofford as long as you did at Midland Tech, because I got, I had struggles and just wasn't a good student and didn't care much for being a good student. I went to the private sector, not the military. But you're trying to contribute back to society now. Absolutely. By mentoring young people. Why is that important to you?
Well, giving back is important to me. I believe that when we are born into a community and when we are native of a city or, a town or something like that, I think we're indebted to that town so much, for an education, for whatever it is that we've gotten out. So it's so important to be able to get back. And not only that, because, that's what God wants us to do. I believe that once we have been established, we need to try and help others to get, to a place where they can be proud of the things that they.
Do you believe that serving in the armed forces made you a better parent, a better husband, and a better, mentor? I mean, obviously, we all come from places. We have events and experience that help shape our worldviews. I mean, the military experience on its own. I mean, that's service to country, and I understand that. But did it prepare you to be a better person moving forward?
I believe that it does, and I believe that it did for me. I got established there, of course, and a lot of people didn't grow up as I did with a mother and a father in the house, so I had that. It kept me stable while I was in the military, but some of the things that my father had taught me growing up, then the military was able to help me to reestablish those things and to help me to use them now, strict discipline, things of that nature.
A young person today, if he were to bump into you and he's struggling with what to do with his life and where to turn and where to go, and he may be a little like you and I, and school's just not one of his strengths. So what sort of advice would you give that young person if they're considering the military?
I would tell them in a heartbeat to go into the military and to be your best that you can be. okay, and watch how much the military give to you. Hey, those are the things that I like to tell young people. I do it all the time right now. I do. My daughter is a recruiter for Air National Guards right there in McIntyre.
And she's the one that nominated you to be
No, that wasn't the one.
Okay, that's
that
another daughter.
That's another daughter.
Sharina's the daughter.
Serena's the daughter that
nominated you to be. Well, we appreciate all your service. I will ask you one last question, and I'd love to hear, military men and women's opinions on the Republicans argue with the Democrats, Democrats argue with the Republicans. Very often you guys as military families are caught in the middle of that. I wish we could do better, but it doesn't appear that we ever will. Does it frustrate you to hear the politics of how that affects you doing your job or the men and women in armed forces today doing theirs?
It does. It does. When you're in the military, like you alluded to, we have a strict policy. That's to support the president. Okay.
Because he's the chief executive.
He's the chief executive. Now, sometimes, like you said, whether we like it or not, we've got to do that. So there's so many things that come up in politics that frustrate you. But, of course, we're just keep on praying and hopefully things will work out.
And being a
fine.
soldier.
That's right.
Well, we appreciate you. Well, I mean this sincerely. I'm humbled. And I don't say that lightly. I'm humbled by the fact that I've been able to experience a real cool existence. And a lot of that is beholden to people like you who will help keep this country safe and allowed for families like mine to chase what we call the American dream. So from me to you, thank you very much. And it's not just from me to you. We've got some sponsors who want to officially say thank you and have some good fun with you and your family on our expense.
Thank you guys as well.
Yes,
as
sir.
a token of appreciation from our sponsors, you have won a night stay at Hotel Florence in downtown Florence, plus dinner for two at Town Hall Restaurant downtown. There's a Pepsi prize package for you, a certificate of bowling and food for a family of 4 from Southgate Bowling. And, of course, we're interviewing you here on the show, and we appreciate you coming in for that. Our sponsors, Pepsi of Florence, Palmetto Goodwill, Hotel Florence, Town Hall Restaurant, Southgate Bowling, PD Speech and Hearing, and Florence Carpet and Tile. And we appreciate it, and that's a token of appreciation for you.
Well, thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much. We'll take a break. We'll be back after the break. Takes Mondays to make Fridays on Good Morning PD, Live 95.